Thanks for tuning in to Know Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we're talking about a very rare grape from central Italy called Sagrantino. So Sagrantino really is the flagship grape of Umbria, and Umbria is in central Italy, but on the Adriatic side of the Apennine Mountains. This particular grape is really an ancient varietal and quite rare. Even to this day, there's only 2,500 acres of Sagrantino planted in all of Umbria, and we really don't see it outside of that one little small climate. Now Sagrantino actually goes back to the 1500s when Pliny the Elder actually got the name for communion wine and actually said sagra, which means feast, that they feel eventually led to modern day Sagrantino. So the first mention of that was all the way back in the 1500s, so really an ancient varietal. But all the way up through time, Sagrantino was picked when it was ripe and put through a process called appassamento or appasito. And what that means is we're picking the grapes and allowing them to dry on a straw mat. If you go back and look at the No Wine and No Time video on the grapes of Valpolicella, this explains this in much greater detail. But by taking Sagrantino grapes and drying them on straw mats, we're actually concentrating the sugar, the acid, and the tannins because we're removing water. So what they did back in the ancient days was produce a appasito wine, which was a sweet wine for communion from that particular grape. And it wasn't really till the 1900s that Sagrantino from the town of Montefalco, Sagrantino de Montefalco, started to emerge as a very serious contender for worldwide acclaim. And the reason why that is the Sagrantino grape has very thick skins, but it also has very large seeds or pips. And the reason why that's important, when we make a wine from Sagrantino, it will compete with the most tannic wines in the world. Think grapes like Tannat, Cabernet Sauvignon, Nebbiolo. Any of these type of really epically tannic grapes, Sagrantino not only equals them, but it eclipses them. So this is a wine with tremendous ageability. This particular one that we have today that we're going to taste, this is one from Tunderum, and this particular one is a Sagrantino de Montefalco from 2008. And what's interesting about the 2008 is I really feel that this is just a baby. This is really just starting to express itself. So what is the application for a very tannic, long-lived wine in the cuisine world? Well, this would love to be mated up with fatty, protein-rich foods. So let's just think about steak, for example. Don't think filet mignon, think prime rib, think ribeye, something with marbled fat. This would go absolutely perfect with that type of cuisine. So if indeed you're interested in obtaining a Sagrantino de Montefalco, what exactly can you expect? Well, the first thing you'll notice is this wine is completely opaque. We cannot see through this wine at all. It's very dark, it's very inky, and because of that, you can't really see the purplish around the edges. And if you do, you'll notice that because of the age of this one, this is a 12-year-old wine, it's becoming just slightly bricky around the edges. And bricky is a term where it kind of rusts or becomes a little orange around the edges. If we swirl to liberate some of the aromas, the first thing that leaps out of the glass is somewhere between cocoa powder, coffee, and mature fruits. So we know cocoa powder, kind of dusty on the palate. We think of coffee, but why the mature fruit? Well, something like this that has such a significant tannic structure has been aged. Now instead of being fresh, vibrant fruit flavors, we're now thinking not plums, but prunes, not grapes, but raisins. Let's go ahead and slide this past the palate and see what it tells us. This particular Sagrantino Montefalco even though it's 12 years old, is incredibly vibrant. Beautiful ripe cherry flavor drops initially on the front side of the palate. As it hits mid-palate, we get an acidic structure where a little bit of spiciness comes through, somewhere between pepper and clove. On the back side of the palate, it's all tannins all the time. This is a gripping wine. Now, having this without any food, the tannins are much more pronounced. If we had that steak in front of us and we had a fork in one hand and a glass in the other hand, the tannins will diffuse a little bit. So if you love a big, bold, tannic, kind of in-your-face wine, I really suggest you try a Sagrantino de Montefalco. They're not inexpensive, but I can tell you the reward is incredible. This is a beautifully rich, elegantly structured wine that can age for decades. So I'm going to enjoy a little bit more Sagrantino de Montefalco, and I ask that you guys come back next time, because soon you'll know wine in no time.